Good morning, everyone, and Kieran Swale here, Tourism Innovation Specialist at Southern Regional College. And we're not talking tourism this morning, we're talking food and new product development. And a very warm welcome to our webinar this morning. It's part of Global Entrepreneurship Week, and this is our last event this week. And today we're going to be talking a very, very important topic when it comes to food. This is allergen labelling changes for pre-packed for direct sale. And today we're going to have, gosh, you're going to be inundated with three fantastic speakers. I know I am so lucky to be surrounded by these women. They are all going to take you through different parts of their interpretation of the new legislation that's coming up as from the 1st of October. So if you have a food business, you need to know this, and we're going to enlighten you today. Notwithstanding, we're about food innovation at Southern Regional College and new products. We're here to help you, and if you've got a new idea about a new food product, what no better people than to get in touch with the three speakers that are coming up, Brenda, Emma and Rachel. Now today we have our producer, Aisling. Gosh, she's getting so used to this. What a dab hand you are, Aisling, eh? And in the background, we've once again seconded Amy. We love you, Amy. You're back with us again. It's great. Great to have you back. Sarah, I know, is in the background. So we have a great team here at Southern Regional College in the business support team. And we really enjoy these webinars. But we are here to help you and help you as businesses in any way that we can. So if you have a new idea around food, or you want some help, or you just want to chat, come in and see us both in our campus in Greenshoots in Newry or in Portadown, and I'm going to let the Brenda or Emma or Rachel tell you about, but I know we have a new product development kitchen on the way. Very exciting news. Anyway, I always say this, but I think it's good to take a few notes as you're going through this presentation. I think it's always very, very useful. In terms of the format, what happens is this is live recorded on Microsoft Teams, and then will be today uploaded to our YouTube channel, where there's lots of other fantastic videos for you to have a look at, and PowerPoint presentations as well. So today's presentation will be available. Aisling will be sending out an evaluation, and for maybe if there's any other additional resources, we'll go out with this as well. And we'd appreciate your feedback, because this is these webinars are supported by Connected NI, who's one of our core funders there, and being part of Global Entrepreneurship Week. It's also Armagh, Banbridge and Craigavon Borough Council and Newry Mourne and Down Council. Two of our councils are supporting this as well. Well, listen, I think that's enough from me. In terms of questions, will you please pop your questions? I can see one question in already. Will you please pop your questions as we go along? I'm not going to say too much more. I'm really looking forward to this. And I'm now going to hand you over to my colleague, Brenda. Brenda, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Kieran, for the introduction. Hi, everybody. My name is Brenda Kelleghan, and I'm one of the innovation technology specialists for the food industry at Southern Regional College. My own experience, I've over 20 years food industry experience as an MPD manager in frozen and chilled sectors against many categories. I've 8 years now in Southern Regional College working with small and medium enterprises in all areas of food labelling, technical, MPD, food manufacturing projects, a lot of these which will be funded. And you know, as you can see throughout this presentation, there is some funded help available if you need to get in touch with us.
So, hello, my name is Emma Lyttle. I am also a food innovation specialist at the Southern Regional College. I have 12+ years experience in industry before I joined the college 5 years ago, and that was working as an MPD manager and a technical manager across various categories, including ready meals, health, food to go and bakery. And in my 5 years since working with SRC, as Brenda mentioned, it's mostly mentoring SME companies and artisans and startups in any way I can in relation to innovation and new product development.
Good morning, everyone. And like the girls, I am also an innovation technology specialist for the food sector. My experience to date, I have 12 years experience in food manufacturing. and that's particularly in the poultry sector. So I've worked on 12 years in Moy Park. And within my role, I covered NPD.
Rachel, you want to just, sorry, Rachel, just introduce yourself. You didn't tell me your name.
Oh, sorry. I'm part. It's a little team. I'm Rachel Lyttle as well. So we're Noem and I are not related, spelled differently. But sorry. So just to go back to my areas of areas I covered within my park. So I did new product development, operations, and managing retail lines, packing lines, and also did a few years for new process development. My experience has been working with leading supermarkets, leading equipment suppliers in the process development role, and then also just general factory environment. I've been employed by SRC really since March this year, and experience to date with SRC has just been helping and mentoring businesses across all food sectors.
So I'm just going to go into a wee bit more detail about what support we can give you at SRC. We sort of focused on 3 main areas. So to start off, it would be research and innovation. So that's coming up with ideas, or looking at the idea that you have to see if it's feasible. Looking at trends within food and drink. So we've some online software that can do that called the Food People, or Mintel reports as well. The competitor analysis, so just looking at your competitors, seeing what they're doing, and eventually coming up with a strategy for your own development, where you want to take your product, where you want to take your company. Once you've come up with your idea, then the next stage is on to new product development. So this is the technical bit. So it'll be recipe development, making sure you're happy with your product, you've got your recipe recorded accurately, and that it can be reproducible. Product reformulation and improvement. So if you've already got your product, we can look at what it is and reformulate it and improve it in relation to your nutritionals, or you can improve your costs, or whatever there. We can look at the nutritionals, as I said, so sugar, salt, fat reduction, or just seeing what they are, what health claims you can do. Costings and product optimization, so figuring out how much your product costs, what you can sell it for, what your margin should be, how to actually cost it correctly, and including label and packaging and all that there. Label and information, which today is obviously what we will be focusing on. Shelf life determination and extension, so figuring out what the shelf life of your product is, if it can be extended, if you can do different processes, if you can pasteurize it, or whatever to extend that. Consumer testing, so actually seeing what your customers think of it, or figuring out who your customers are, and what they want from you and what they want from your product. And packaging, so how to showcase your product. Packaging can even be used to improve the shelf life. So once you've got your new product and you've done all those stages, the next stage is launch. So we would have experience with good manufacturing standards, so getting your site up to scratch, either through SALSA or BRC, or the stars in the door. Factory scale up of your product, all of the problems that arise whenever you try to scale up. Trial management, customer presentations. A lot of people wouldn't have any experience presenting to customers, so just some guidance on how to do that. And then the actual product launch, so getting your product out there. And then the most important thing is to review your product launch, so that you can take all your learnings and improve in the future. So as I said, all 3 of us have an awful lot of experience in all of those areas, and they can be any of those areas, or any of those points can be applied to most companies and most of their products. So there's definitely something we'd be able to help you with.
Okay, thank you, Emma. So it's just really going through the agenda now, and what we're really going to cover today. We're going to, first of all, the general types of food labelling. It's just a recap of where we are, what the food labelling legislation is at the moment. Like there's obviously new changes since October the 1st, which is affecting the pre-pack for direct sale. So it's just a good time for the webinar, just to remind everyone of the new law and any questions you may have, and hopefully we'll be able to answer these questions. So general types of food labelling, the background to Natasha's law, which really kind of was the instigator behind this new labelling legislation. What is PPDS? What do you need to do to comply? Examples of some work completed that we've done here. Useful links and FSA guidance. There's so much information out there now, so we've included all them links, and just a live Q&A session if anybody has any questions, and we'll do our best to answer them all, and if we can't, we'll certainly go back on to the authorities and come back to you as soon as we can. So first of all, as mentioned, there's 3 different types of food labelling at the moment. The pre-packed and non-pre-packed food has really been effective since 2014. for the and so the new change is now this pre-pack for direct sale, which as mentioned is from the 1st of October this year. So I will just go through the pre-packed law and the non-pre-packed law slightly. So the current rules on allergen label with regard to pre-packed, it's just a reminder of the current rules. These are set out in regulations that have been implemented since 2014. So pre-packed food is food that is packed by one business and supplied to another business, or it is food that is packed by the same business at a different site. So the pre-packed food must be labelled with a full ingredients list with any of the 14 major allergens emphasised in the ingredients list. So this is the most wordiest slide we have, but there's no way of kind of reducing this, to be fair. So this is for the pre-packed food label. So this is for the product that's out in the retail market. So the first thing is obviously the name of the food, a list of ingredients in the descending order. So that's why it's important to have that recipe and the ingredients in descending order. Food products that contain any of the 14 allergens, which we're going through in the next slide, as an ingredient must be listed. So you must highlight them allergens on the label using a different font, style, or background colour. The quantitative declaration of ingredients, which is a quid. So for example, if it's a cherry scone, you need to put the percentage of cherries on that ingredients listing, depending on what it's called. The net quantity of the product, the storage conditionings and date labelling, the best before or used by, the name and address of the food business operator, the country of origin or place of provenance, and that's in particular products such as meat or honey. Preparation instructions, such as your cooking instructions, your nutritional declaration, and alcohol percentage if it's greater than 1.2% volume. So you'll find all that information on the FSA website. There's also a font size requirement. The font size has to be has a minimum height of 1.2 millimeters. This can be slightly reduced if it's smaller packaging, but these are all things to think about for the pre-packed. So there are 14 allergens that must be declared by law. First of all is gluten and any cereals containing gluten, such as wheat, rye, barley, oat. Peanuts, which have their own category. Tree nuts, which is the likes of almonds, macadamia nuts, hazelnuts. Celery, which can be very often found in the likes of stock cubes. Mustard powder, which is found in a lot of ingredients. Eggs, you've got milk, you've got sesame seeds, you've got fish, and then you've got crustaceans, the likes of the soft shell, like crabs, prawns, and lobsters. Mollusks, which is the hard shell, so the likes of oysters and scallops. Soya, which is found obviously in a lot of sweet products, and a lot of seasonings as well. Sulfites, which you'd find very often as a preservative in a lot of seasonings, especially sausage seasonings, etc. And lupin, which is found not that often actually over here. So the non-pre-packed food is also regarded as loose food. So this is any food that is not pre-packed, so it's considered non-pre-packed. And this is where food businesses currently have a choice. So this is going into the cafe or the restaurant. You don't need to actually write down that there's allergens in the product, but if you are asked if there's allergens, you need to be able to confirm that there is, and this can be done verbally or in written form, which is probably recommended. It's important to assign people to where they can obtain allergen information. So this is the likes of the cafe and the likes of Sandwich Bar up until the 1st of October, where it just needed to be kind of verbally or on the menu or whatever. So that's where the change has kind of come about. So the amendment really for this new pre-pack for direct sale, it was brought about thanks to the actions of the lobbying group led by the parents Natasha and Laperouse. The teenager unfortunately died after suffering an allergic reaction to an undeclared ingredient in a pre-packed meal. Due to their efforts, the government confirmed the stronger laws would need to be implemented to give those with food allergies greater confidence. So it all came about this amendments due to Natasha's law, which was her picking up a sandwich in Pret a Manger at the airport. So it's just, you know, this is what's kind of started this new legislation. It's Natasha's law, so it's not really about labelling, it's about life and death. It's obviously, it's a very serious subject that needs to be really, really looked at and kind of implemented with a lot of attention to detail and with a fine tooth comb.
All right, thanks, Brenda. So really just to focus and to home in on what exactly is pre-packed for direct sale and how you can actually declare your food into those categories. So Really, it's food that is packed at the same premises that they are sold, or else foods packed in the same place. It is offered and sold in packaging, and the key message is it's before it is ordered or selected, or else foods that you can go into a butcher's or baker's and it's in a display counter and you can just pick that up. So if you can put yourself in any of those categories, you are then declared as a pre-packed for direct sale food. An example of that, if you just move on to the next slide, please, Brenda.
Sorry.
If we just focus on a sandwich, the simple, humble sandwich. That sandwich is being prepared by that food business. The sandwich is then placed into a pack, into a box, or simply just wrapped in cling film. That sandwich is now in a display cabinet and it's ready for the consumer to choose and to purchase. Because that consumer chooses after the product is packed, that now declares it as a pre-packed for direct sale. Okay. If you just press that wee video link for me, please, Brenda. This is them, and just a wee quick video from the FSA. It just explains. That was just a simple video that was taken actually from the FSA. It just clearly identifies and kind of breaks it down and explains it very well. If we want to just take the example that the FSA had used, and it's a wee ingredient declaration that has been put onto a sandwich. So you can understand, you can notice that in this format, the ingredients are presented with ingredients in descending order. So i.e. just the largest quantity is declared first. The allergen or ingredient, which includes the allergen, is highlighted to the consumer. And it just means that a consumer can very quickly identify what allergens are in this product at a quick glance. On the right-hand side of the slide, we have sort of focused on compound ingredients. So a compound ingredient is just a lot of ingredients that make up a product or an ingredient. So just for the example, the gravy mix, it takes a lot of ingredients to create that gravy mix ingredient. That sounds a lot of ingredients, but if you understand, if you see there that we've declared gravy mix and we've opened the bracket and we have then noted down every ingredient to make up a gravy mix. And to start that off, you open bracket, and when you close off the gravy mix content, you close the brackets again and you move on to your next descending ingredient. We have sort of drew attention and highlighted throughout our presentation that the FSA website has got tremendous content. And as part of that content, there is it's a pre-packed for direct sale decision tool. And the example here is just on the wee slide. So basically, if you go through and you can answer all the questions. So the first question, is the food presented to the consumer in packaging? Yes or no. Move on to number 2. Is the product packed before the food is ordered? Yes or no. Move on to question 3. And is it packaged in the same place it is sold? Yes or no. If you can answer 3 questions, or yes to all those 3 questions, you can now categorize your products into pre-packed for direct sale. Okay, so some business that we've worked with, this is one I personally worked with myself. It's a local food business it's a butchery, obviously in Banbridge town. So this business approached the business support team in Newry here, and they just were looking support in really just to how to approach the project. So the steps that we took, and I went in to visit a one-on-one visit with this butcher's Fred Elliott's. We introduced the project and the topic of pre-pack for direct sale, really what it is and what it's all about. We did a short presentation, and not only did we explain what's required for PPDS label requirement, but why. And I think that's a very important message. We had to explain the background to Natasha's law, why it's now legal. And basically, I think sometimes I also say to the businesses, the consequences of actually getting that wrong, and it's very, very serious because it's obviously life or death. I get a full understanding of his product list, and then I split them into relevant categories. And I try to encourage like a team leader for each category. And that team lead will then try and drive the force. No point in taking it as a one big whole project, because sometimes it's just too much for a business. And we put a structure in place for recipe cards, and that's to kind of get the food business owner to think about what goes into those products, and in particular in compound ingredients. That does catch a lot of people out. I then guided that team throughout the project as to what is required and what the label content needs to be. And as an example of that, this is a wee example of the recipe cards that I try to use. So we list all the ingredients, and then we break that down into percentage. And then it just means that your batch, if you break it down into percentages, you can quite easily work out the batch size and the ingredient quantity relating to that batch. That then helps you to actually, you put everything in descending order, and it just helps you to actually start to write down your ingredient declaration in the format that's required. I think we have another case study then, Brenda. Is it yours? Yes.
Yeah. So through the funded Innovate Us programme, I worked with Lavish Treats, with Aisling from Lavish Treats. This is actually a new business she was developing, an at-home business, and it was fine-tuning. She had the recipe idea for some lovely protein balls and some vegan tray bakes, etc. So I worked with her in kind of fine-tuning all the recipes, carried out extensive nutritional profile and tweaking of recipes. And on completion of the project, 15 new healthy treats were ready for launch, including a range of vegan products. Now, just to explain really the work I done, Lavish Treats, we regard that really as a pre-packed product, because they wanted to be able to have the opportunity that they could kind of sell it in maybe like kind of coffee trucks, or maybe sell it in the local shops. So we really treat it as a pre-packed product. Now, it could be a pre-packed for direct sale product if it was made to order for the customer. So if the customer rings up, wants an order, and it's made to order for that customer, it can be pre-packed for direct sale. But just, you know, to allow a bit more flexibility for the business to kind of go elsewhere and maybe put it into retail if need be, we really treat it as a pre-packed product. So just some of the work that we can obviously help was really kind of really the mandatory information. So it's the ingredient deck, it's highlighting the allergens, it's quidding the products, and it's doing the full nutritional information for the products. So it's really all the mandatory pre-packed information as per my previous slide 7.
So this is just a slide to make you think. So whenever you are doing this labeling information, maybe some other areas you consider while you're doing it. And again, all these areas we could help you with. So the actual packaging that you're putting the product into, is it showcasing it enough? Is it the best one to use? Like, if you use a better one, could it increase the value of it, or could it increase the shelf life of it? Again, on the packaging, are you shouting about your message getting across? If you've got health benefits, are you shouting about those? Your costings, if you've got a recipe sheet, which you're going to need with all the quantities to do your label, that can be easily used for costings. So then you just put a price beside each ingredient. So that can be used to develop a lot more accurate costings. And then you could just add on packaging costs, labeling costs, and if you really wanted to get into it, labor and costs, how long it takes you to make something, many make an hour. We can also look at the shelf life whenever we're doing this labeling and just see how long it is, if you've ever challenged it, if you think it could be longer, if you think it's too long. Distribution, we're all in the food industry to make money, so you need, once you have your product, you need to get it out there. So different routes to market. Are you selling it yourself? Do you want to get it into local farm shops? Do you want to do it in markets? Do you want to sell it online? Do you want to get into the retailers even and go for the big boys? And again, we can offer guidance on that. And definitely, just since the pandemic, e-commerce, social media and selling online is a massive thing. And we have some e-commerce specialists within SRC who can help with that also.
Okay, and this is just really, obviously this is kind of policed, which is maybe not the right word, but it's really the local council, your local environmental health officers are the ones that will kind of enforce this. So and when I say enforce, I know that they'll work with you with regards to this new law. So what the inspection will include, it's just what foods are impacted by the new requirements. Are they labelled correctly? How do you make or package these foods? And how do you clean the equipment to prevent cross-contamination? And how do you prevent that cross-contamination during storage and processing? What allergen and ingredient information you receive from your suppliers. So this law involves everybody. So really your suppliers need to have sent you a full ingredients declaration on each of their products as well, for you to be able to put it onto your pack. Your record keeping is really needed for traceability purposes if allergens are found in a product, and just to allow if there's ever a product recall that's required, that you really don't want to go down that route. But the district councils in Northern Ireland will enforce the new pre-pack for direct sale requirements, and I know they'll very much work with each business. There's so much links and guidance online here, so this will be published on YouTube or whatever. There's so much on the FSA website, there's so much on pre-pack for direct sale, that decision tree that Rachel mentioned, all about Natasha's law and why it came about. There's also excellent allergy training online as well, that each member of staff can really go through the allergy training online and actually get a certificate at the end of it. So there's so much information out there if you look it up on the FSA website. So further information, obviously just on this can be seen at food.gov.uk, pre-pack for direct sale. You can actually ask specific questions to the FSA, and that is the email address, and hopefully we'll be able to answer any questions you have as well. As mentioned, there's allergen information for food for pre-packed for direct sale. So there's technical guidance, there's so much online, so please do avail of that. And then just at the end here, I know Emma's already went through this at the start of what we do, but that's just our email address, betterbusiness@src.ac.uk. So if you have any kind of thing you want to discuss with any member of the team, just email that and somebody will be in touch. So thank you for listening to the presentation, and just if there's any questions, please feel free.
Okay, Brenda, that's great. Thanks very much for Brenda, Emma and Rachel. Very informative talk this morning. Very extremely relevant nowadays, and I guess with what's happened in the last 18 months, the way the shift has been for a lot of small producers or retail outlets to think about producing their own food and preparing that for sale is very, very relevant. We do have, Brenda, we have 1, 2, 3, we have about 4 or 5 questions here. Brenda, what I'm going to do is just read the questions. They're really good, actually, really, really good. I'm going to read the questions out, and then maybe you can suggest who might if all of you can maybe want to jump in. But the first one's quite a long one. It's to do, they're an ice cream business, and we're an ice cream business. If we have a flavour of ice cream that we make and we use more than one ingredient to make up that flavour, if the constituent parts of that ingredients going into it have the same ingredient, do you have to repeat the ingredients listed if they are effectively the same? I.e., if dextrose or skim milk powder were in both sources, do you need to list them twice? Also, we sell, we wholesale sell, we sell our scoopable ice cream to other businesses, which is served from a display cabinet. Does the same apply to that? So there's a secondary question, but hopefully you got the gist of that first question.
Yep. Okay. So if I take the first part of that question, and Emma and Rachel, please pop in. So the ingredient used for that flavour, yes, in the ideal world, once you have your recipe in descending order and you know the amount of each ingredient, you would put it in to your ingredients in descending order. But if you are a little bit tight for space and you know it's a small ingredient at the end, there is room to manoeuvre to actually not have to repeat that ingredient, to kind of allow for space in the product ingredients list. So, I mean, in the ideal world, you would kind of break it down, and if you've got the room on the label to break it down, absolutely. If it is just a doubling up, yes, 100%. If it's you just need to see where it is on the descending list of your recipe and see where it would be fitted into the ingredients list. But I mean, certainly give us a shout about that. We can kind of work through that with you, and kind of it's all dependent on your label size as well. So it can be. So if anybody wants to take that second part.
Yeah, sure, I'll take the second part. I just want to make sure I'm understanding it correctly. So they are making a product, giving it to another business, and then that business is selling it directly to the customer. So
Yeah, that's it,
Yeah.
Emma. Yeah, you've got it there. Yeah.
So because they are making the product and selling it to another business, then they need a full label for that point. So they would need to give all the information to that business, either on a spec or on a label, whenever they're selling it to them. And then whenever that business is selling it onto their end user, the second business wouldn't, because it's a direct sale.
Okay, so the second business, just to clarify, the second business doesn't need to print an additional label?
No, but
Okay.
the first business who's selling to the second business does have to have a full label.
Okay, okay. Yeah, that's pretty clear. Okay, are you all right for a few more questions?
Yep.
All right, so thanks for that. That was an anonymous question, actually. So thank you, whoever put that question. It was a really, really good one and very relevant. Kira from Ardglass. Kira, thanks for this. Kira owns a B&B. She's a couple of questions and they're really relevant. So I'm going to take the first one. Kira owns a B&B, and we do afternoon teas in the house. We also do baking to order, afternoon tea to go out, in brackets to order, and picnics to order. In our bedrooms, I put a homemade pre-packed complimentary gift of fudge for our guests. My first question is, does this need to be labelled with the new changes, including every ingredient and sub-ingredient?
I'm happy to take that one on, girls. I suppose to categorise what Kira is explaining is that it's a non-pre-pack. Would you agree, girls? There's no actual direct sale here, and because that customer, so if we take it in the first stages, that everything, the stuff that she's sent out for afternoon tea is pre-ordered. The kind of objective here would be that once it's being ordered, so when that conversation is happening at time of ordering, if the consumer has any concerns and allergens, at that point is when the food business owner, i.e. Kira, explains the allergen content in her products, okay? Orally is fine at this stage. If she is then providing the fudge to the rooms, that customer essentially is not really ordering that. I would treat that as a pre-PPDS, because you are providing a service as long as you're creating their awareness of the allergen content.
I was going to jump in there and pure ignorance, just ask, what if the fudge had traces of nuts in it?
That has to be declared. Any allergen that has potentially going to be in that fudge will have to be declared, and that could be, I would say, in that scenario, I would suspect the best way to do it would be on a label, but you could do it orally. Or
could you do a tent card or something like that? You know, beside that rather than something like that. I'm just thinking like a wee tent card.
Yeah, because it's not. Yeah. I would treat that as I would treat that as a PPDS at that, when she's providing that service of the fudge, and ensure that she has her ingredient list done and certainly her allergens are highlighted.
Okay.
No, yeah, is that okay? Akira, if there's something else you want to talk about there, feel free to get in contact. But that's the way I would approach that.
Well, there is. Kira has another question. There is. My second question from Kira. Thanks for this. Oh, you're keeping us in business today, Kira. You know, so it's. a client orders a basket of 10 picnics from me
Mm-hmm.
for his walking group.
Mm-hmm.
This is a wee bit like, you know, on these exercises you're doing, you know, you have to listen, what's coming next? So, and he asks for a selection of wrapped sandwiches for his walking group members to choose from.
Mm-hmm.
The client orders and buys the picnic basket himself, in brackets then, and at a time of ordering, I request if anyone has any food allergies, close the brackets.
Mm-hmm.
Does each sandwich have to be fully labelled under Natasha's law?
What I would suggest, again, I'm treating this as a non-pre-pack, because at point of ordering, the allergen discussion is happening orally. And at the current state of the law, that is fine. But it's very, very clear. Ciara needs to, I would suggest, have a list of her products that's being offered, and certainly have the allergens highlighted beside each product type, so that nothing can be missed.
So, and sorry, just because obviously my background is in tourism, and I know walking tour operators here and walking guides. Is the onus on the tour operator here, or the organizer of the tour, to check out that?
I suppose it's very important that Ciara is aware and Ciara explains her information. So, yeah, that's what I would say. It's certainly up to Ciara to provide the information.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that. It's the food business operator, so it's down to whoever's producing the food. And if it is being kind of made to order, I would absolutely, in the ideal world, probably put an ingredients list on that if you can. So, you know, it's very kind of grey in certain areas. I know for like a home baker, if you are ordering a cake to order for that customer, again, that would be regarded as loose food because that's made to order and it's not packaged before the customers ordered it. So it's a wee bit similar to that. As Rachel mentioned, it's really important just to have the allergens. That would be the main kind of input here, is just to have the allergens available for each person ordering a sandwich.
Yeah, I think Kieran might have froze.
Any other questions here, girls, in Kieran's absence? I think Kieran has froze there. Some technical difficulties. Oh, you're back now, Kieran. Hi, Kieran.
Apologies, I know what happened there. My point, I don't know what happened there. My point is, does the individual need to have a separate, if there are 10 wraps and, or 5 wraps, let's say, but there's 10 salads, there's 5 different types, there's 10 wraps. Does the basket, it's a picnic basket, does it need to have just one, something like that, or does each label need to be individually wrapped?
Sorry, I don't get what you're saying there. Just repeat that, Kieran. Sorry.
Sorry, it's okay. On the last question, I was just getting if you had a basket and there were 10 items and there were 5 of the items were, let's say there's 2 of each type of sandwich or each type of wrap. Does they all, in that case, do they need an individual label?
No, if the person has ordered them specifically, they don't need a label, but it would be a good idea to have a sheet, either yourself, with a list of all the sandwiches and a list of all the allergens along the top, and you can tick in each sandwich which allergen it has, and then you can verbally relay that to the person who is ordering it specifically. Okay,
great. So Ciara has come back and said, thank you. Thank you for your question. There's one more. Could we take one more?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is an interesting one. When adding pre-made sweets to baked goods, do all ingredients for the sweets need to be listed, or can you simply list the sweet as an ingredient, e.g. Maltesers on a cupcake? Good question.
Happy enough to take this one. Look, the answer is yes. So you're going to have to break down that Malteser. I would always give the example of somebody making a stew and they put Worcestershire sauce in it. If they only write Worcestershire, they won't realise there's actually fish in that Worcestershire sauce, and you've missed an allergen. So again, with the Malteser, I'm guessing there's probably gluten in it. If you just write Malteser and you don't bother to look to see what the ingredients are, you could miss an allergen. So I know it can take up a lot of space on a label whenever you have a lot of compound ingredients like that, but they do need to be split down just so you can examine every single ingredient that goes in to make that Malteser to make sure none of them are an allergen.
That's a great answer, Emma. I didn't know there was fish in Worcestershire sauce.
Yeah.
What you learn. Okay, well, listen, that seems to be most of the questions, and that's been really very technical and well answered, everyone, and very informative. Certainly, I this morning gosh, I'm really more aware now of the impact of this, and it's obviously very timely, hasn't been launched last month. I suppose just in summary then, you know, we have highlighted there are 2 great case studies, and we do as a team then provide lots of support for innovation, which is very timely because I now am going to hand you over to our producer, and Aisling is going to give a little summary of how we can help you further. Thanks, Aisling.
Morning, everybody. Thank you, ladies, for that presentation, and Kieran for facilitating as always. I would just like to thank also ABC Council and Newry Morning Down Council. This event is part of Global Enterprise Week, so there's been a series of events throughout the week, which have all been really relevant to businesses within the borough and districts. So thank you so much for helping us advertise this morning's event. And also thank you to Connected, who are involved in all our webinars and really help us put this whole thing together. So thank you very much. I would just like to come on and talk about some of the support that we have here available at the college. Obviously, the girls have showed you some of the case studies that we work on. I'm really just coming in to show you the support behind that. So I suppose, first of all, most recently we've launched the Skill Up Flexible Skills Fund, and this has been established to upskill and reskill individuals, you know, as a result of the pandemic. So what it really is a range of just completely free courses for anybody. So there's lots of things on offer. You know, you've got from digital marketing, computing, engineering, a real wide range of courses. So in the follow-up email that will come after today's webinar, there'll be links to all the free courses that are available. So certainly check them out. They're a really good opportunity to upskill yourself. We also have the Skills Focus Programme, which is a training programme for companies under 250 employees, and this would be the like of your food safeties and that, where we would run them fully funded for businesses as well. Now, on to the exciting stuff that the girls work on is the Innovate Us programme. So those case studies that you've seen this morning for Fred Elliott's Butchers and Lavish Treats, they would have started off on the Innovate Us programme, which is funded by the Department for the Economy, and it offers up to 60 hours of mentoring for upskilling to a small business. So any business under 50 employees can avail of this. And it's really one-to-one mentoring with one of the girls in an area that you need upskilling in. So obviously, as I spoke about, labelling is very relevant to this webinar. So we would really encourage anybody here who falls into that bracket, get in touch with us, email us on betterbusiness@src.se.uk, and hopefully we can get you signed up through that programme if you are under the 50 employees. We do also offer the Innovation Voucher Programme, which is funded by Invest NI, and it's really to allow businesses to tap into some of the knowledge that we have here in the college. We do also offer some bigger programmes as well, like fusion and knowledge transfer programmes and apprenticeships and higher level apprenticeships. So that's obviously getting somebody into your business to come and work for a couple of months or a couple of years. They're good options as well, and they're in a wide range of areas. So if that's something you're interested in, you know, feel free to give us a call. Finally, just want to thank everybody for joining us this morning. We will be sending you an email following this with all the links to this morning's links that Brenda spoke about, a link to the presentation so that you can watch back or forward on to anybody who couldn't make this morning's webinar, and obviously an evaluation then where you can have the opportunity to put forward maybe some suggestions for future webinars. We love to get your feedback and try to make them all as relevant and as current as possible. So please do fill it in for us. We would greatly appreciate it. On that note, that's me finished. So I will close if anybody else, if there's no questions or anything else has come in. No? Okay, so thank you so much, everybody. And as I say, feel free to email us on betterbusiness@src.ac.uk. Thank you very, very much.